Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Two Scrippers, One Motherfucking Pole. I'm outside today. It feels nice. It's finally not like 20 million thousand degrees outside, and you can be. This is a thin sweater that I have on. I just want to start this week's episode with listen. I already know that you're listening and watching, but on the off chance that you're not listening and watching right away, I know that there's somebody out there that knows someone that knows someone that knows you, or maybe even I have a listener that directly knows you. But Usher, baby, let me tell you something. Okay? So, you are my number one. You are my superstar. You're amazing. I love you forever and always. Like, it's just the way you do the things that you do. Like, if you know him, I need you to call him up right now so you can let me speak directly to him through you. I just love you, bitch, and I'm never gonna stop loving you, bitch. Like, you are amazing. I got to see him opening night. Let me tell y'all something. It was at Capital One, and I was the nosebleeds. Okay, when I say my seat was literally touching the wall, but I had a great view. It was amazing. Top chef's kiss. Him in that red outfit, Lord have mercy. Him in that sparkling. Ooh, listen to the wind blowing. We outside. Go touch some grass today if y'all haven't. Go touch some grass. But him in that red suit, him in that sparkly diamond outfit, roller skating around the damn arena or the stage, and when he came out in the crowd, it's a great thing that I was not down on the floor, because if he just looked at me, the way I would have fainted and passed out, that would have been the wrap of the concert. So the universe knew that I needed to be fully aware and present and there, because whoever that girl was, that he was all out, he sang super, like, let me tell y'all, Superstar is my song, and it's one of my favorite songs to pole dance to. Like, I feel like that song is underrated, but it's not. And I do believe it's on the same album as Confessions, and I feel like Confessions gets so much more notoriety than Superstar. Like, it's definitely one of his top tracks, but I don't think y'all really. Oh yeah, this is for you, my number one. Like, oh my God, just the opening of that song, and when he came on the stage looking all fine like a piece of motherfucking meat. I mean, he was FDA approved, organic, grass-fed meat, y'all, real lean, no fat. Like, I'm about to cry just thinking about it. I did cry. I definitely did cry. Originally I really wanted to see him in Philly, because he's performing on Philly on my birthday, August 30th, and I just knew. I was talking to the universe, and I was like, give me some VIP tickets, let me be right there front and center, let me be that girl last night. And like I said, the universe knew that I wasn't ready to faint and pass out, so she was like, nah bitch, calm down, you still gonna see him, but like, relax. And I was like, you mad? You right, I'm not mad at it. So I did get a ticket. So technically I went by myself, because I had bought the ticket because I was like, I need to see Usher. This is my birthday present to myself. And I knew in the back of my mind that I had like friends going, and I knew that my cousin said she was going. I couldn't remember if she said she was going by herself or not. Shout out you, cousin. So I was like, fuck it though, because I want to see Usher, and I'm not about to like try to see if somebody else want to go and then they start playing around, or they want to go the second night because the second night was more expensive. But maybe, I don't know, I was just like, I'm not letting anybody get in the way of me and my baby's moment. Who texted me? So I got those tickets, and I had texted her after the fact, and I was like, you said you're going, right? And she was like, yeah, I am. I'm going by myself. I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, where are your tickets? And we ended up both having, I had section 403, she had 409. And so we ended up meeting each other at Gallery Place, and then, you know, doing the things that we do, and then going inside to go see the show. And we also, there was a photographer, shout out, I'm blanking on his name right now, but it was like T Hudson or something like that. I don't know, but it was some dude outside taking photos, and like he really hooked us up. They looked great. It was funny. I was joking with my cousin because I was like, the photos low-key look like we're getting engaged. They're definitely giving engagement photo vibes. Like if we weren't dressed the way, I feel like I was more dressed in an engagement photo outfit than she was. But it was definitely given like, this is my sweet queer honey and we're getting married. Which is crazy because that's literally my baby cousin. And for those of you who are new here and you're like, who are you talking about? Why did I forgot how to speak for a second. But Sonic Boom Simone. Because she be so loud. Like, it's been a minute. She hasn't been really, because I've been doing a lot of solo episodes this season. But was in a couple of last season, and then she was in like one of the I'm blanking on the name. Oh, Dildo on a Power Drill. I think that was the only one that she was in this season so far. But that's my girl. That's my cousin. So shout out to her. But yeah, I be calling her, well, her mom calls her Sonic Boom, and so I also adopted that because whenever I record with her, I gotta move the mic. The mic cannot be in front of her because she be so loud and the sound waves be through the motherfucking roof. I'm like, what is happening? But yeah, since we're on the topic of like doing stuff for your birthday, that's the other thing too. It's like wait, because I'm not done talking about my baby Usher. So he was originally supposed to have opening night, I think, in Atlanta, but then he ended up moving Atlanta to the end of the tour. So he had the first night, the opening night of the tour in DC. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who, for those of you who are like going to see him. If you haven't gotten a ticket and there's still tickets available, do it. Like, and I was talking a little bit of shit a couple episodes about, like, I think I was talking about it, about how the girl spent like in the show Swarm. She spent like $3,600 to go see Beyonce on a credit card. I still stand by, like, I'm not about to open up a whole credit line just to get tickets to a concert. I'm gonna sit it out. But I would definitely pay at this point. I mean, because I said it, I've seen Usher twice. I would pay a nice penny. I wouldn't pay over $1,100 to see him, but again, it would have to be like, for me to pay that price, I have to be like in a very good section, and it has to be some bonus things. But I definitely think that like Usher is a phenomenal performer. Like, both times was just so surreal, and that man is so fine, baby. You so fine. You is so fucking fine. Jesus Christ. Ben, what song was it? Oh my God. It wasn't Superstar. It was something, the visuals are really cool. It kind of reminded me, there was like a lot of, the theme is past, present, and future. So obviously there's like some AI stuff that is in it, and it was like really interesting. It was a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit hard from where I was. Some of the echoing of like the what is it? Like the videos on the big screens and shit, it was a little bit hard to hear those because of like the echoes. But actually I could hear him singing. The screens was just, that was my first time going to Capital One for a concert, and honestly, I don't know if I would go to Capital One for a concert again. It wasn't a very great experience. All of my experiences for Capital One have been mostly going to Caps games, and really that's it. Like, I don't go to basketball games, but from the way that they let you in to the arena is so much different during a sports game, because I've been in the vicinity for basketball games. The way they let you in for a sports game is way different than how they let you in for for a concert. And it just doesn't make any sense to me how they split up. It's just like they start so first, when we first were coming in, they had like these huge crowds outside and were trying to funnel us into lines, which sometimes that is how the initial let in for hockey games are. I feel like personally, I like to enter from F Street. These are from my locals. I like to enter from F Street, which is like the main entrance. I think that they had a good job. Like, they do a good job of making the separate lines. But then for the concert, we got in, and then they just had like a huge crowd waiting for us to be able to scan our tickets, but then they tried to like swoop the line around, so now you have like 5 or 6 different lines that are like moving into this big group, but don't nobody know what's going on, so people cutting the line and it just don't make sense. Then you randomly got people coming talking about oh, if you're on the second or fourth floor, take the elevator. It's only like 2 elevators running, and you're literally talking to hundreds, potentially thousands of people. What? So then everybody trying to fight on the elevator like, oh, it's no more space. We don't need the commentary. We can clearly see it's no more space. Like, y'all just be pressed for no reason. You pressed because you got on the elevator? Relax, honey. So then once we get off the elevator, we're on the 4th floor, and they had like, there was like a line in front of the ticket scanner. So I'm thinking, are y'all in line, right? Yeah. But, well, no, the girl was like, no, we already scanned our tickets. What? So we went up to the front to scan a ticket, but they weren't letting anybody in. So you scan the ticket, then go back to the line. But then they started letting people in. So then the lady's like, did you scan your ticket? Did you scan your ticket? Why did you let people start doing that? That don't make no sense. And if you was really trying to move faster, then all of the people that you like, and I had literally just scanned my ticket. You're asking me, did I scan my ticket? Like, if you're gonna do that, then make some kind of marker and stand near the person that you last saw scan. Then the let out, they was sending everybody like one way. There's like a the staircase. They were blocking the staircase, the entrance to the staircase. It was like 3 or 4 doors. They weren't letting anybody go through the 3 or 4 doors. Instead, they were funneling us through one door, and they weren't trying to let too many people take the elevator. There was an elevator right there. So they were funneling us through one door and was like, oh, you got to take the steps. But that staircase funneled into the staircase that we would have went through the 3 doors. So I'm just really confused, because what the fuck was the point? So yeah, I don't like. And then the other time that I went to Capital One, it was for when Dave Chappelle was doing his like documentary, and that was just like a shit show. They barely had stanchions to block people off. So it was a lot of he said, she said, like, oh, if you have this kind of ticket, you're supposed to be in that line. Oh, if you have this kind of ticket, you're supposed to be over there. But there was nobody really knew what was going on. So people are just moving from line to line because they find out, oh, I'm in the wrong line, or this, that, and the third. Then he had people locking their phones up. So some people were freaking out because, like, oh, I have my phone on my ticket, and I have this, or I have to go to do this, and da-da-da. So it was just so much. So by the time that we actually got into see, I didn't even because first of all, I was a +1, so I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. I didn't realize that it was a documentary, and I don't think the person I was with realized that either. I think we thought it was like supposed to be a comedy show, which he ended up having like a little bit at the end. I don't know if he did something before, because we got in there late because their shit was so messed up. I think we didn't even get in until probably about 30 minutes after it had started. Mind you, we were there before the event started. So yeah, Capital One, if anybody who works there is listening to this, y'all need to get y'all shit together, because it just don't make no sense. I think that the way y'all are a sports arena, and y'all need to function that way. Like, y'all do a good job of facilitating a crowd for sports games. So what gets lost in translation for anything else is beyond me. But maybe because y'all have more monumental, like, it's monumental sports, so you have more of their staff lead. I don't know, but y'all need to get it the fuck. So yeah, well, so birthdays, yeah. So you know, turning 28 next week, and of course everyone's like, oh, what are you doing for your birthday? What are you doing for your birthday? What are you doing for your birthday? I'm like, I'm in the business, I'm out of my business. I'm not doing anything extravagant for my birthday. The last time when I was turning 24, this was during the pandemic too. So originally I was supposed to have a birthday party, a pool party outside, because one of my friends had one, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So she got me in contact with the dude whose house she used, and was like, yeah, I rented it out, blah blah blah, like talked to him. He was a little bit strict. Okay, cool, which was fair too, because it's like, I'm using your property and we're still in the middle of a panorama, so I understand that there has to be like limits and shit. And so in the planning for this birthday, you know, it was like, he was like, I couldn't have more than 25 people, da da da. So I had to narrow down my friend list and figure out like, okay, who's really coming. And when all was said and done, I damn near spent $600 for my birthday party. And I ended up not doing it because there was supposed to be like some thunderstorm that was coming through the day of the party. So like 2 or 3 days before, the man texted me and was like, oh, if you don't cancel by today, then I'm not going to give you your deposit back. What? That don't even make no sense, sir. But I guess he was trying to say because he was going to have to like treat the pool and do this and do that. But still, it's your backyard pool. You were still gonna have to do that anyway. Like, I'm a little bit confused. And when I ended up saying something to like my friend's mom afterwards, she was like, yeah, I don't know why he tried to play you like that. You should have just said something to me and I would have checked him. But I was just like, at that point I was so fed up, because it was like, all right, I'm already about to spend this much money, and I was having so many hiccups with just planning, trying to get like food and the like things to do, and I was so stressed out. So then when I decided to cancel it, my backup plans were I ended up doing brunch in the morning and bowling later at night. So all the people that I had invited to the thing, I like, you know, and so once it was like, oh, we have to pay or it's not this, and it was around the same time frame. I think the brunch, because I don't remember like what time I was gonna have the pool party from, but it was like, you already blocked this time out to come to my pool party, and now I'm talking about brunch and going bowling. Now you gotta pay, and I don't know. Nobody said like, oh, I don't have the money for it, but it was just like, oh, now you gotta pay for something and nobody want to come. That's suspicious. But I was just really stressed out, and luckily my friends, the ones that did come out, shout out to y'all, they really came through. Some people came to both events, some people came only to one, but I was just so stressed out, and I was like, I vowed to never be that stressed out for my birthday again. Absolutely not. And I'm not. The fact that I almost spent $600 for y'all to celebrate me is crazy. That's crazy to me. Cause y'all was about to be up in there eating all the food, just having y'all best life, and probably wasn't even gonna bring a damn birthday card, wasn't gonna bring a present. Like, y'all was just gonna show up for the vibes, right? So then my next year, my 25th birthday, what I ended up doing, my friend at the time, she let me use her backyard. So I was able, it feels like I've been recording for longer than 19 minutes, but like, I feel like when I don't be talking, I feel like it's more time, like it's longer. I've been recording for longer than I expect, but when I feel like I'm talking a lot, it's like, dang, it's only that much time. Anyway, so yeah, my 25th birthday, my friend let me use her backyard, so I ended up doing like an at-home brunch. And in that case, what I had was, everybody had to send me $25 to go towards like all of this stuff. So I went to Costco and got a whole bunch of breakfast food. I got different decorations. I went to Lax, which is like I don't know if I would say discount wholesale. What is it? Because it's not even, so they have wholesale options for liquor, but I went there, got a whole bunch of like champagne. I think I might have got like one or two bottles, and we mixed our own mimosas, and it was a really good time. It was a really good time. So that was a lot of fun. A lot of people came out. I was drunk as shit. And then for my 26th birthday, that was when I was just done breaking up. And really at that point, like, because after that breakup, I really isolated. But some other people who I thought were very close friends also took the time to distance themselves from me, which is fine. And so I ended up not really, I don't want to say I didn't care to do anything, but I didn't. Like, after the past 2 years of just kind of seeing how people are so finicky when it comes to birthday plans, and I sit here and I think about my other friends who kind of stress out about like inviting people, and everybody be so pressed, like, oh, what are you doing for your birthday? Let me come out, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then when the time comes, it's like, oh, something came up, or they don't even have the decency to tell you that something came up. And it's like, y'all literally sat here and pressed me out about what are my birthday plans. I come up with something and y'all don't even show up, and then be having the audacity to ask me to come to your birthday. And then y'all birthdays be expensive too. Like, that be the crazy part. So yeah, I was just like, I'm at a point where I'm just kind of tired of that, you know. So my 26th birthday, I went to lunch with my mom, and I went to Fogo de Chao with Katie. And then that's when I ended up having the little like home housewarming / birthday party at my house. So that was like real small, like maybe 10 people, and that was fun. And then last year it was like, everybody's, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't got nothing planned. I'm not doing nothing. So then I finally was like, okay, I'll do karaoke night. So I made a cute little flyer and everything. I love making a little flyer for my birthday. So I did a cute little flyer, and went out to karaoke. But this is also, we're coming up on a year, rest in peace, Chris, I love you so much, when my friend Chris passed away. So the karaoke night, because my birthday was on a Thursday last year. Was it? Yes, my birthday was on a Thursday last year. So I did karaoke Friday night, but that Friday night was Chris's viewing. So I left the karaoke to go to the viewing. And, you know, everybody's like, oh, what's the move? I'm like, I don't have a move. Like, I'm literally going to go, like, honor my friend. And I'm not opposed to doing something, but, like, y'all asked me what I was doing for my birthday. I did karaoke. That's it. That's all. Like, we're not doing anything else. And I had a lot of people like, oh, but it's your birthday. Why you not doing nothing? I did what I wanted to do for my birthday, which was go to karaoke. We did that. We had fun. We had a blast. And so if y'all want to do something, I'm down to do something, but I'm past the point where I'm going out of my way to appease other people for my birthday. If you want to do something with me for my birthday, then you plan it. What? You want to have a party for my birthday? You planning the party? I'll help you if you taking the lead of planning, but I'm not stressing myself out to put together an event for other people, because it just be too stressful. And y'all, as y'all know, your girl be stressed the fuck out all the time. I ain't even look at my notes. So I say all that to say, for my birthday this year, me and Katie went to brunch. That was the time. Then ended up treating myself to go to Usher, and then my cousin was going too, so we spent that time together. And then other than that, I don't really have any plans. You know, my partner asked me what I wanted to do, and I gave him some options, and he was like, okay. And I haven't gotten anything since then. And it seems like, honestly, all of my friends are out of town on my birthday, which I'm not mad at. Go have fun. If that was the only time you could get, go. Because like I said, originally I wanted to see Usher in Philly for my birthday. That was what, like, my goal was. But it did not work out the way that I intended. Y'all, oh my god, I hit a turtle. I'm so sorry, universe. I'm so sorry to all my pet people and animal people. Like, y'all, okay, so I was driving my little work van, and I was just driving down BW Parkway, right? And the car in front of me, I saw them swerve a little bit. So when I saw, it was a turtle crossing the road. So I ended up swerving a little bit, trying to get like away from the turtle. And then the next thing I know, I look in my rear view mirror, and that bitch is just spinning like a motherfucking coin on its side though. So I didn't run over it or crush its thing or anything. So I really hope that it just like super spun into the woods and that nobody else hit it. I really have been putting into the universe that this turtle is okay. But when I say my heart has been hurting like, and it was no way. My mom was like, why didn't you stop and let it cross the road? I was like, Mom, there was literally no way that I could have stopped without causing a larger accident. And in a work van, that's crazy. No. So I just had to really put my faith in the universe that it protected that turtle. I felt so bad. And all my friends were trying to make me feel like a piece of shit. And it was like, y'all act like I woke up today and was like, yeah, let me go hit a motherfucking turtle. No. Okay? Turtles kind of creep me out. But not to the point where I want to go, like, mass murder turtles. That's insane. What else? Oh, let me talk a little bit, too. I think last week... It's a correction. Last week, I said New Jersey. I said New York be getting one nipple pierced. I meant to say New Jersey. But it might be a thing in New York, too. I don't know. Coming back to Swarm. So, I had finished Swarm a couple of weeks ago. And it was interesting. Because I had made a comment and I was saying how I feel like Swarm, it was interesting that Swarm was about Beyonce, because I feel like the aggressiveness of the main character, it feels more like Nicki fans from what I've witnessed. Because I'm really not involved in the Beehive. Like, I put a lot of respect on Beyonce's name, because you can't deny her artistry, but we're gonna say music tree today, and like what she's done. But I'm not like, oh my god, Beyonce. Honestly, I'm like, I really only care for Dangerously in Love, and then like a couple albums after there. But I really stopped whatever the album was where after she did Drunken Love, like and Lemonade, I guess I would say I really stopped paying attention to Beyonce after Lemonade, but even before that, it was kind of dry. Like, I wasn't going out of my way to listen to her, and so when people just like, oh my god, babe, oh my god, da, da, da. Like, yeah, she's great, but I'm not. So did anybody in the Beehive, don't be sitting here coming for me. I respect the girly. I'm just not, I would not consider myself a part of the Hive. So with that also being said, and like, I only got back on Twitter because of my spicy work, so I don't be seeing what's going on Twitter or how the girlies be talking to her. I just know that they show up and show out. I be seeing how the Nicki fans be aggressive and crazy. So when I was watching Swarm, that's what I was saying, like, to see the aggressiveness from this character is a little bit like, but in the grand scheme of things, it was talking about, like, you know, this idea of fan culture and the extremes that some people do go to for the people, like the artists that they idolize. And it was really confusing. I felt bad, right? Because I think literally after I had finished recording that last episode where I made that comment, I ended up finishing it later that night. And like, a little bit spoiler alert if you have not watched it, I believe the series is like, it's either 7 or 8 episodes. And the episode before last, so either 6 or 7, depending on how many are in the series, they do kind of like a scene cut, and it's supposed to be what's called a mockumentary. And it really kind of throws some people off, because I thought that it was real, because they actually start mentioning Beyonce by name. The main character that is supposed to be Beyonce is Naija. That's her name. But then in this mockumentary, they're saying Beyonce. They like block out her name, and then they're finding actual tweets and things from people in the Hive, because the whole series is based on things that have actually happened or rumors that have actually been said. So it's all based in truth. But this story in particular is not. However, in this episode, when they do the mockumentary, they switch up like the characters and they have all of this stuff with like real evidence. So for a second, I was kind of talking shit about this, and then it was based on a real story, like this girl really killed this person and this, that, and the third happened. I was so like, I felt bad. I was like, damn, I gotta come back and like apologize to the people and stuff. But even though I didn't like talk that much shit, but it was still just like, it more so in the sense of like, I felt like I was speaking in a place of ignorance, like what I said, not knowing that, because it really feels like this was a true story. So I was like, dang, like me saying, oh, I feel like this is more Nikki, and then being completely oblivious to the fact that like this actually happened, like this girl died, this girl did that. I was like, yo, why didn't I hear about that? So yeah, that's just my little 2-piece on that. I think Swarm was weird. Like, it was good, but it was weird. And I felt like it's kind of one of those shows a little bit. I didn't like the ending. It's one of those shows where you do kind of have to go look for the meaning or the purpose a little bit, personally. Somebody out there who's listening might be like, no, bitch, you just stupid, you don't gotta do that. I felt like I did have to do a little bit of research because I was confused. I didn't really know what was happening, and I think that my confusion just really stemmed from like when they put that it was weird, and then when they put that in, I was like, hold up, wait a minute, like all of this is true. Because in the beginning of it, they say like this, I forget the exact statement, but they're like, this isn't a story of fiction. These are based on true things. But they don't say what parts are true. So yeah, interesting. What else? So I'm gonna talk a little politics, sure. I had it's getting toasty out here, but I don't got a bra on. Let me take this headphones off real quick. No, y'all, before I get into that, before I get into that, so yesterday I also I start my program back up next week. I'm so excited. We had reorientation / orientation. So my program, like I've said, for those who've been here for a while, my program's 2 years, but I decided to go part-time and do 3 years. So we always have like 2 to 3 year people. So last year was my orientation, this year was reorientation, and they were just like, they had a keynote speaker, they had just like updates with new faculty or new procedures, and like introducing the cohorts and giving the first years a chance to ask any questions, or just get insight from second and third years that come. So it was really, really great to see my cohort. Like, y'all know, I love them people. They are my favorite set of she's and days. I love them so much. And I missed them. Because I didn't take summer classes. And it's interesting too, I didn't take winter classes, I didn't take summer classes, and then it was like, we're so glad to have you back, like the energy's not the same. And I be like, I really be feeling like I be minding my business. Like, I really don't feel like I put that much input into the group, but like, I love y'all so much, if any of y'all listening and watching this. So it's always just like, it's always a great time to see them. So I really felt happy going back, and getting ready to go back into the swing of things, because y'all know I'm a little nerd. I love learning. And recently, quick sidebar, I've been rewatching Steven Universe. And I also watched the movie Smile, and because I'm in school for therapy, I always kind of have this like, oh, I was supposed to be taking this top off. Can you see my titties? You might be able to see them. I don't know, but oh well. I guess y'all getting a free show. This is a little toasty. There we go. I was talking about therapists. Yes. In school to become a therapist, and I had talked about it a little bit with Prison, how I just keep coming across this stuff that one of the main characters is a therapist, and I'm like, oh my god. And obviously getting more in touch and talking more about emotions and the power of emotions, and really like how there needs to be more conversation and instruction or resources and just seriousness taken around emotional intelligence, because if we understood our emotions, then it will be a lot easier to be able to like move with logic in how our emotions cloud our logic. So and help us understand each other, help us stand, all of that. So I was bringing this up because I'm rewatching Steven Universe, and now that I'm watching it a year later with a little bit more what do I want to say? I started watching it because when I first started hanging out with like Jax and that community, Cuddle Kink Touch community, DC Cuddle Club, one of the events that we had, they had played Steven Universe, and everybody, like, I knew a little bit about Steven Universe, but I never actually watched it, and everybody was going crazy over it. And then once I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, I understand. I love Steven Universe so much. I would sing the theme song right now, but my mind is blanking, and I'm not going to embarrass myself, but like, I love Steven Universe. Anyway, so now rewatching it, seeing certain themes, and one thing stood out to me in particular, which I don't know why I didn't pick up on it last year, but Steven, so for anybody who's never watched Steven Universe, it is essentially Steven is a half human being and a half crystal gem. And the crystal gems, so there's like on another planet, you have like the diamonds and you have gems, and the diamonds rule the gems, and they were trying to take over other planets, so they sent some gems to Earth to start like incubating and creating new gems and things of that nature. So there was Rose Quartz, who was under Pink Diamond, and she went to basically be like, I'm the defender of Earth. And she was like, it started this whole war, and it was like Rose Quartz, and then she had Pearl by her side, and Pearl in the diamond world is supposed to be this pearl that, like, pearls are your assistant. They do whatever you tell them to do. They're like, their purpose on this, like, I guess their being is to serve the other gem or diamond or whatever it is. And so Rose and Pearl came to Earth and was like, I'm gonna defend it. So then Garnet is actually a fusion, and we find this out later down the road. She is a fusion between Ruby and Sapphire. And so in Homeworld, Sapphire is like a futuristic, and I don't really know how much this translates to like the actual properties of like the real crystals. So let me just, like, crystals and gems, let me just say that right there. But Sapphire, typically the sapphires, they're under Blue Diamond, and they are a little bit more like futuristic. And like Sapphire, one of her powers is that she can see the future and like basically come up with infinite possibilities. So that's really the future. It's not like you can see the future, but you could see the infinite possibilities and kind of have a little bit more psychic input of like what you should do, or true intuition input. Let me just say, disclaimer, I did not actually plan on talking as in depth about this as I am right now, so that's also why I'm kind of tripping over my words, and I'm trying not to make it boring to those of you who are like, I'm never fucking watching this shit, and get my point across. But like, yeah, anyway, so see, this is why I need to stop going off on tangents, because I just completely forget what the fuck I'm saying. And it's like, it be relevant, but it's like, you really didn't have to do all that you just did. So that's sapphire. The rubies are, I forget who rules them, because there's yellow diamond, white diamond, blue diamond, pink diamond. But like pink diamond is kind of like the little sister, the baby. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I don't remember, or I think rubies might just belong to everybody, because that gem is a bodyguard. All the rubies are like more bodyguard types. So eventually in the season we find out that garnet is this fusion between sapphire and ruby, because there was a sapphire who was assigned to basically figure out like what was going on with Earth and like that whole war and what was going to happen there. And they sent, I think they sent her, they either sent her to Earth, they were about to send her to Earth. I don't really remember what happened with that, but they had a group of rubies who were assigned to protect her. So then Rose Court and Pearl ended up coming to Homeworld, like a surprise attack at Homeworld or something. And I think Pearl was getting ready to attack Sapphire. I really don't remember exactly the mechanics of it, but Ruby ended up like, no, don't hurt her. This particular Ruby, because it was like, I think it was like 4 rubies assigned to her, but this Ruby like was like, no, and then like jumped, and they ended up fusing, creating Garnet. And this is the first time, this is why Garnet's character is so important, because this is the first time that we see this, like this, now this is a other, because what do you mean you're fusing with another gem? And when you think about it, it's like, you know, people are like, you think that Steven Universe is a children's show, and it takes these adult concepts and brings them into a more and I really think as I get older and I go back and watch shows that I used to watch as a kid, and I'm like, how are we watching this? Like, you know, there's a lot of innuendos for adults, but I think that also goes back to like, some of these things are put in the show to also bring adults into it. But I think that you should be watching show. See, this is one of those things, like, I was just at 18, how am I at 42 minutes? But you should be watching these things, you should be supervising these things with your kids, right? People want to take this blame of like, oh, why you putting music out there like this, or why you doing TV shows and movies, and why you doing that. If you were parenting how you should be, and of course you can't protect your kids from everything, but if you were an active parent in doing, like, one, your child is more likely to trust you, to come to you with certain things, because, you know, they're going to hide, but they'll be less likely to hide things if you have that positive, open, trusting relationship. But also, like, and if you're just there with them during certain experiences, that also increases the relationship building, and they're more likely to come to you. And yeah, so it's like, it always kind of pisses me off, especially like the shit that like Cardi gets sometimes, like, and she said like, I don't make my music for children, right? And I do think, though, with that being said, more specifically in music, that there is a responsibility on the artist. Like, that's why I really can't fuck with Sexy Red. First of all, I don't really care for her music. Is it catchy? Yes. Babe, I love you, you my everything, and the red and green. But that's really I don't really care for my booty hole, bro. That's so what. So I already don't care for her music, for real. I do think that she's very good at making hooks and like shock value and things like that. Like, she is a good marketing I don't know if I would say genius, but she's a good marketing strategist, or whoever's on her team, for sure. And you know, you can't be mad that she is herself. However, it's like when you pull up to a middle school singing out the rooftop, my pussy pink, my booty hole brown. Why are you at a middle school doing that? And then you going on, like, when the middle school principal is like, nah, you got to get out of here. Why are you going on, this nigga trying to kick me out of the... Because why are you there? Why are you singing about booty holes and pussies to middle schoolers in that demeanor? Like, you know, it can go into the sexual education conversation, but that's not how you, no. Like, you should not be at a middle school. You need to embrace that. You need to be targeting yourself more towards adults, because that is what, like, the vulgarness of your work is more suited for adults, not children. And it's really like, you know, it's really, when you look at songs like, okay, Peaches and Cream or other things, like, did I have any business singing that when I was younger? No. But there was also a lot more, like, subtlety, and I want to kind of say almost like poetry. Like, it was a little bit harder to understand what was saying, because I promise you, for years I thought Peaches and Cream was about oatmeal. But that's also, y'all also know, if you've been here for a while, my process skills are not the best. So, you know, I don't think anybody else thought it was about oatmeal, but it was said in a much more appeasing way. Like, it was still raunchy and sexy and nasty, and it was like Grind on Me, but Pretty Ricky and all. It's certain songs that definitely, yeah, but I still think that it was said in a better way than, but then you could argue like, Here's My Neck, My Back. But again, like, these also weren't songs that were playing at our birthday parties. They might have been, like, we've heard the songs on the radio, at least for me. My experience and the people that I was around, this is like, you know, we're in the car with one of our parents and they playing it, or you know, it's like cleaning up on Sunday and it's playing in the background. It's not like I'm about to pull up to the family reunion, or I'm having my birthday party and this music is playing. This wasn't like, these weren't my idols either. Like, you have so many, like, the young generation is listening to this and emulating the style, coming to school with it. So it's just a lot. It's a lot there. And just like more. So I've been over her then with the whole Trump thing, and then recently she released like lip gloss, and one of them is called gonorrhea because it has this green tint, and then the other one is like coochie juice, and the other one is pussy pink and booty hole brown and yellow discharge. Like, and somebody made a tweet and was like, and again, this goes back to my comment about like the shock value, the marketing. Yes, because people are talking about it. That's what you want, right? I'm essentially giving you free promo talking about it, but there's a way to, you can be vulgar without being disgusting. And you got little kids that look up to you, so now they're like, oh yeah, I'm wearing pussy hole pink. What? I'm wearing gonorrhea. What? That's crazy. That's crazy. I was talking about something completely different, sort of. So how I got here, I don't really remember. I know I was talking about I was talking about children, like more. I don't even want to say adult themes, like, because it's real world themes. It's what we are living in, and I think that like Garnet can speak to like gender. It can speak to dating outside of your race. Like, when there's this first, we're scared of something, the things we don't know about. So in Steven Universe, it was like fusion wasn't a new idea, because rubies could fuse with rubies, sapphires with sapphires, pearls with pearls, to make a bigger, greater, stronger version of themselves. But now you have two different gems that or crystals that are different coming together, creating something new. We've never seen this. What does this mean? So you're automatically othering them, and then you're leading with fear, right? Instead of saying like, wait, this is actually cool. What can we do with this? How do you all feel? What is your feedback from this experience? How did y'all do it? And so yeah, it's like, I think that is really kind of a beautiful concept too. So there's a lot of different things about just like Steven Universe in the whole is like really just accepting beings, accepting people for who they are, and really leading with love, which is, you know, rose quartz, one of its properties is known for like love. And that she was one of, some people say Rose is like the villain, which I could kind of see that, but like her being the leader of this rebellion against Homeworld, and like her really just saying like her love, she wanted to protect Earth because of how beautiful this oh, it's a butterfly, it's so pretty, it's an orange butterfly. I think I want to get more into like butterfly watching than I do bird watching. But birds, I've been seeing a lot of cardinals recently. But anyway, so yeah, she like, when she was at Earth, she realized how precious and how expansive this planet is. With just like being outside right now, I'm looking at like all these different trees, the grass, like all of the wildlife, is dragonflies, is birds, like so many different species cohabitating. And then you have humans just trying to fuck everything up, right? Because they just want to lead with this logic and power. So what time? Okay. So yeah, a lot of themes like that. And to get back to Steven specifically, he is half human because Rose Quartz fell in love with his dad, Greg, Mr. Universe, and they ended up creating Steven, this half human, half gem. And he does have these special powers to be able to help, because what happens, so Garnet obviously gets banned, and she comes to Earth, and she joins forces with Crystal, with Rose Quartz and Pearl. And then eventually we find out Amethyst, which is one of the main characters too. What happened with Amethyst is that the people from Homeworld, in their attempt to take over Earth, they planted basically what they call as kindergarten. It was like crystal gem farming, and they started like incubating the Earth's crust with this stuff to make different amethysts. And so then once they were ready, the amethyst like burst out and went back to Homeworld to do whatever. But this amethyst that is with the crystal gems and Steven, she was underdeveloped, and she's like, and this comes out like later in the season when she goes back to Homeworld to see like, wait, there are other amethysts and I don't look anything like them. Like she's basically like the runt of the group, but she ends up being taken in by Rose Quartz and all of them, so they become like the defenders of Earth. And Steven, in order to create Steven, Rose Quartz had to like vanish, so the whole series we're kind of like learning more about that and how she's present within Steven. But he's obviously, he looks up, he like, his parents are the crystal gems and Greg, and he is trying to learn more about his powers and his purpose by like the crystal gems really raise him more than Greg in a lot of ways. And obviously he looks up to them, and he's like, I want to be a crystal gem, I want to help y'all save the world. But he don't, at first, the first couple of episodes of seasons 1 and 2 are like him even just trying to figure out how to activate his powers, and then it's like every once in a while he'll get his powers, but he doesn't know how to control them. And one thing he realizes, that this is where I make the full circle off after my rant, that his emotions control his powers. And then what clicked in my head the other day is like, duh, he's half human. And it goes back to what I was saying, this idea of emotional intelligence. And so we might not have these superpowers that we see in like movies and TV shows, but our power is in our emotion, and how that leads us in our decisions and what we do and what we contribute to this world. And so that was like a revelation for me, that connection of like, oh, that makes sense that his emotions control his superpowers, because as a human, our emotions guide our decisions. And so yeah, that brings me back to the other point of yesterday being my reorientation. We had a really like phenomenal guest speaker, Dr. Kay Whitehead. I do believe that was her name. I gotta get her bio from my professor. But extraordinary black woman, lots of accolades that, again, I'm like, one of my professors read her bio and I was just like, wow, like this is amazing. She has a podcast, she teaches at Loyola University. She has won multiple awards, but she was leading like a basically diversity training for us. And this is like nothing new that I've never, like, I'm used to being the only black person or the black girl, woman in a room a lot of times. Like going to Towson, it was several classes where I was the only black person. And right now in my cohort, I'm the only black person. But what I can say, and like undergrad, my cohorts, I was the only, in the program, there were 2 black girls and we were in the separate cohorts. And then my second year in that cohort, I transitioned and it was both of us in the same cohort. And so now the cohort before me, I think they had 2 black people. And then in my cohort, it's only me. And then in this upcoming cohort, it seems that they have 2 black people too. So I will say with this cohort though, and with my program, I do really feel like there's a genuine like interest and concern in what is the word I want to say, understanding of just significance of like multiculturalness and racism, and like being aware of just how eclectic this world is and how important that is, and making sure that when we are practicing and serving these communities, that we are aware of our biases and like trying to really operate from a space of like person-centered, like take your race or this or that out of it. What is it that you really need, you know? Or at least I definitely do feel like this is a space where I can genuinely say that all of the white people that I'm around right now in my cohort are aware. And they're the white people I fuck with. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know I be talking about that all the time. So, you know, obviously I saw that we were going to have the multicultural training, whatever. And I was just kind of like, okay. Like, I didn't think it was going to be bad. I didn't think it was going to be as good as I perceived it to be. And I'm obviously really happy that I was there. But we were talking about like CRT. And so CRT, some people would say that's an acronym for critical race theory. But she was saying that CRT is also culturally responsive teaching and instruction. And how a lot of people confuse the two when really it should be the latter. And this responsibility of culturally responsive, like the importance of understanding, you know, why things are the way they are. So she opened it up and she was saying that like to do change, do you start with people's heart or do you start with people's mind? And you posed the question to us, and everybody was kind of going around giving like, you know, well, I think that like it's a little bit of both, or you got to change their mind to change their heart, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, you got to change the heart, you got to change the heart. I didn't say anything at that point, but she was like, okay, well, I'm basically going to take you on like a timeline of like 1619 up until 2024, which was also, it worked out because that was Monday night was the first night of the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. And so then yesterday was like the second day, and then you had the third day, which will be today. I did watch the first day. I did not watch yesterday because I was with I was seeing my baby daddy Usher, and then I'll probably watch it tonight and tomorrow too. But talking about, you know, this I don't feel like I could ever really, it's like you definitely had to be in the room. It's going to be such a paraphrased version of what she said, but just kind of like, how did we get to the state of the world that we're in today? And like just the, you know, this idea of racism and how it impacts everything systemically. And yeah, so let me just walk you through the timeline that she gave us. She said we start in 1619, where you have 20 or so Africans that are brought to Jamestown, Virginia. And then I forget like the timeline after that, like specific years, but then from there I think, you know, they come over here on indentured servant contracts. You're going to work for however many years, typically 7. After 7, you and your family are free to go do whatever. And it's like your labor. You are from this time to this time, these days, you're working, you're doing this, da-da-da. Then after that, like after you're done with your labor, you're a free man. And this is like the contract for however many years. And then your family's free after that. So then at some point down the line, realizing the value of, because there were white indentured servants too. It wasn't all just like black people, you know, like, because it was a contract based labor. So then we go from this idea to realizing the value of human labor. And so now you are like, yeah, let's get rid of the contracts. Like, nah, you a slave, my brother. I own you. This is like, this labor doesn't stop. You do what I tell you to do. So you're legalizing slavery, and you have people who like, I went to bed tonight thinking like, oh, I got 1 year left on my contract. Wake up in the morning, it's like a boo-boo. Nigga, you're mine. Like, you do whatever I tell you to do. And so then from there, fast forward down the timeline, historically, we look at how your worth is tied to your father or who you marry. Like, it's tied to this man, right? So that's why there was such a push for having male heirs, because who's going to take over the throne? Not my daughter. Now, you might have had some people, which, you know, I'm not a history buff, so if you know history stuff, and as always, send stories, questions, and topics, it's at 2scripters1poe@gmail.com. But, you know, you have some people that might have been a little bit progressive and was like, no, like, women have power too, women are smart too, women can contribute as well. And if they didn't have any sons, then they were, you know, they would train their daughter to be able to run the tribe, the country, whatever, that group of people that, you know, to lead their people to, you know, in enhancement, enrichment. So then at one point there's this idea of like maternalizing, I think that was the word she used, of like, you are your mother. So now this is where it really comes into like, you have the slave owners raping black women, because now not only do I own you, but I own your womb too, and anything that comes out of your womb. And because your worth is attached to your mother's, I could have sons by you. They're not going to get any of my fortune. So it's literally like, from the womb to the tomb, you are enslaved. And this is where we start seeing the early reproductive rights infringement coming in. You mean like, and so this is where you have these unsafe practices. Like, why? Like, I'm getting raped, I'm getting assaulted to give birth to a kid that you're telling me that I don't even own. And it's like, you have women, girls, not even women, girls, from like, most girls start their period around like 13 maybe. That's like the average puberty. I got my period when I was 9. So you mean to tell me I could have had a baby at 9 years old? That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. 9 years old having a baby. So you have these young girls that are being pushed to have a mother, and this is like, by the time they're 18, you're just like getting them pregnant. So by the time they're 18, their wombs are dropping, they can't even have any more kids. So now it's like, you know, it's just like, and of course at this point I started crying, because everything makes me cry. But it's like, I mentioned this to her afterwards. It's like, I have such a love-hate with diversity training, because it's always like, I'm, it's the black person leading it. It might be me and a couple other black people in a room, and we're in a room full of white people, and you can tell the white motherfuckers is like, why the fuck do I have to be here? This isn't important, like that. And that's the part that's upsetting. And I'm like, but I love them too, because I always learn so much of my history. I always learn so much more about being a black person and being a black woman when I sit in on things, because this stuff was not taught in school. This history is really erased. So yeah, like the reproductive rights, the infringement of that and starting to lose that goes way back to here. So then you just have like all of these people that are enslaved, and then you have people being like kidnapped and taken. So this is where, you learn the history of like, that's where cornrows come from. So that's why it's like, Kim Kardashian pulls up with some cornrows. You're talking about she invented cornrows? No, cornrows were literally like, we braided maps into people's hair so that they knew how to get home or how to get somewhere. That's the history of cornrows. That's how you have all these intricate designs. They had like, when people were taken, they would hide seeds in the braids. So one, you could have something to eat. You could drop them to find your way, like follow the path of the seeds to find your way back to wherever you need to get. Like, and it's like so to see that of like, these things were created out of survival. And she was saying too that something else that she found out that was really like interesting is that one of the reasons why enslaved Africans did so well over here is because the climate from where they were taken versus the climate on the East Coast were similar. So they had no problem being able to grow rice or grow cotton or grow other things because they were familiar with the land and knew how to navigate it. And so once like somebody realizes, like they instead of working with, they dominate, and it's like, I can use you to my benefit. And I lost my train of thought on one of the things that I was saying, but yeah, like it was just, so then, from there she started kind of like speeding up the timeline and talking about just like key events of like the Civil Rights Act that we talk so much about. Like there were several civil rights acts before the last one, and I'm blanking on the year again. Not a history buff, so anybody who's like listening or watching, I'm like, bitch, you talking about shit you don't know about. You right, I don't, and maybe I should, but I don't, but we're here anyway. So then like from the Civil Rights Act, then you have the Voters' Rights Act, and then you have Fair Housing Act, and it's like we had to keep coming back to this policy and revising it and revising it and revising it because it's still not serving the people. Even with the Voting Rights Acts, like, yeah, you had, I believe the women's suffrage movement was back in 1920 for women to get the right to vote, but that didn't include black women. So that's why you had to come back years down the road and do the Voters' Rights Act. And that's why it's just like the thinking of how you have all the different amendments and just that literally black people were thought of as less than and property for the gain of white people. So you're building this country. At her like in wrap up was really like, and Dr. King had said this too, that it's like America doesn't have a race problem, it has a class problem. Capitalism is the issue. This value on consumerism and like getting gains and being over the other, like all of this separation of class is really the problem, but they disguise it with like all these talks about racism and all these talks about like gender, sexism, and ageism, and all these other isms, right? But it's really just like the haves versus the have-nots, and like the haves have all the money and are keeping it from the have-nots, which is like still, what the fuck is the point? Like you get to a point where you have so much money, you really can't do anything. Like you're just being selfish. You're willingly watching other people. And I watch this, I like to occasionally watch John Oliver. He is like a comedic news person. It's on Hulu. I like to watch it. I think he does a really good job of like definitely talking about heavy topics and like putting a nice laugh in there. And he's one of my preferred news sources when I do sit down and watch it. But he had like basically he had a segment on Elon Musk, and that was really interesting too, to think about like how much of a genius Elon Musk is. And he has the capability, like, I guess you could technically, and he kind of said this in the thing, is like you could kind of call him like modern day what's that shit called, Iron Man. And it's like he has the capability to save the world with the things that he's doing with like energy and stuff, but he doesn't want to save the world unless it's him saving the world and getting the credit for that. And it's just like this selfishness is ridiculous. Like, you have the means to help so many people, but instead you want to line your pockets. That's just, it's disgusting. It's crazy. And it's like, and I think about like people who support Trump. Oh Lord, this is a whole nother story for another day. But it's like, you watch these interviews, they don't know nothing about nothing. They're just like, I don't know. There's poor people in every race. The issue is like, when you really come down to it, is who has the money versus who doesn't. And those who have the money, what are they doing to help kind of equal the playing field? So it was a really interesting, just kind of like timeline of the problems we have today and how they're remanifesting, with like, the overturn of Roe v. Wade and the first night of the DNC. There was a whole segment on abortion rights and like how we're seeing this. How are you making decisions on what I can do with my body? And then when you throw in the different religions, and that's a whole nother like wormhole of history to look at, of like, not gonna go there, but it's all of this is intertwined, and then we just slap racism on it, which obviously not denouncing racism, it's definitely significant. But at the root of it, it's like there are other things to worry about. And that's always something that just brings me to tears, because when I see I remember my first year's RA during the training, and we were talking about what had happened recently. Oh, I can't remember what had happened. But was it Charlottesville? It was Charlottesville. So during a training, they just kept talking about, the elephant in the room, the way they were skirting around the topic, like serious shit was happening, and they're skirting around the topic. And finally somebody was like, y'all keep saying elephant in the room, talk about it. Y'all, the only thing they had on the damn screen, in the smallest font, was like Charlottesville. And it was a while ago, and I'm blanking. Charlottesville, was that South Carolina? Don't be mad at me. Don't hate me. My brain is blanking, because again, I did not plan to go down this road, and I can't look it up because I'm not on Wi-Fi, because I'm outside. Oh, I can look it up on this phone. So while I try to look that up, Charlottesville. What year was that? 26. Ooh, was that 2016 or 2017? I'm gonna say 2016. Charleston? Was it Charleston or Charlottesville? Y'all, I'm blanking. I'll come back and I'll talk more about that in another episode. But yeah, I'm forgetting. So please, if you remember, send correction stories, topics, or comment in the YouTube. But yeah, the point is that like they kept skirting around the topic, and then they put like their only real address to it was like they put it in these small this font on a PowerPoint slide with nothing else. And so when we called them out about it, like, what the fuck, they were like, okay, we're gonna take like a little intermission real quick, like, and we'll come back. They found a video from Vice, and Vice don't be having no cut cards. They just be like, whatever. So it was some video of extremists and protesting, and I have never cried so painfully in my life. Like, there was no kind of trigger warning. It was like the rednecks, NIGGER, because I don't think I can say that on YouTube, but like hard ER, and just like the absolute hatred. And I think one of them even said like, no, I don't, basically admitting to his ignorance of like, and admitting that I literally hate this person's existence because their skin is black. And it just, that concept never makes any sense to me, that it's like, if you literally, like, race is a construct. If we were walking around just motherfucking muscle, tendons, and bones, how would you know? Maybe you could tell by bone structure or whatever, but even still, like, it wouldn't. It's just to see how nasty and evil people get and are willing to treat you based off of, like, me just sitting right here. Like, if a white person that was really just like, it don't take nothing for a white lady, because you already know how I told y'all how I be feeling about them, a white lady or a white man to come up, oh, what are you doing recording in the park? You can't be here. You need a permit. I'm gonna call the police and and coming over here slamming my laptop or trying to take my phone or whatever else, because they feel so entitled. Don't know what I'm talking about, don't know what I'm doing. I could be sitting here doing like actual important research or something, and because you're uncomfortable with my presence and the color of my skin, like, that makes you harass me in like, what? And then we were also kind of talking about like how, I believe it was the 13th Amendment that abolished, and I'm putting air quotes for my listeners, that abolished slavery. But really what it did was, when you read what it says, is like, this is how slavery becomes prison. Oh, we can do slavery when they're in prison, and this is how you start out. Like, the prison is just the plantation. That's all it is, because in America we have private prisons. So that means in order for your prison to run, you need bodies. So you're locking people up, and who's getting locked up? The brown and black people. So it's all of the same thing, just being like, okay, well, how can we spin this to make it seem a little bit digestible to the public? Like, yeah, we don't have niggas out in the cotton fields whipping them anymore, but we got them in prisons beating them up, or doing whatever, blackmailing, or doing this or doing that, and we're locking people up with minimal evidence, or giving them these crazy sentences, and letting people with more, like, with offenses that actually, like, they should not be out in public. I don't know, like, when I see headlines about somebody who has all of these I don't think I can say that on YouTube, but all of these M-word charges, and all of these rape charges, and all of, like, and listen, I'm a crime nerd, so it's like, you might start with the M, then you'll go to the R, but then you realize, like, oh, well, I gotta kill them so that they can't go run and snitch on me. Which already, there's no protections for real for people who get raped or assaulted, and that's why people don't come forward, because it's always like, you don't believe me, or what, like, the victimization. And it's usually women, and then with men who get assaulted, it's like, man up, or, oh, I would have been, you have this grown woman. We hear so much about, like, men come out later talking about how this grown woman who was a teacher, or was their babysitter, or like a neighborhood person or whatever, how they were grooming them, and they might say something to their friends, but their friends like, oh, I would love to be to have Miss whatever do that to me, or no, that's traumatizing, because as a kid you're still trying to, like, you're looking up to these adults to teach you how to just survive and be in the world and understand yourself, and then you have these trusted adults come and like very early on break you, and then it's like this power dynamic of like, who's gonna believe you? And we see that so much in men, is like, oh, you should have, oh, I would have loved to have some cougar pussy, or this, that, and third, or we don't believe men, and we diminish their feelings, even outside of just like, the sexual assault conversation of like, men shouldn't cry. You cry because you're feeling. Crying is a good thing. That means that your emotions are like working, that you have some kind of, like, if you need to cry, fucking cry. Like, that's what your body, that is a form of release. Your body needs to release whatever pent up energy you have, and it's telling you more about yourself. Like, so that's why I be crying like shit, and I be sitting there, I love crying. Everybody around me know I'm a crier, so if crying makes you uncomfortable, baby, find a new friend, because it's not me, okay? I'm actually surprised I've never cried in an episode, though. So yeah, just like a lot of interesting revelations. I've been talking way longer than I thought, and because this is supposed to be coming out at the time of this recording tomorrow, gotta get it together. But anyway, yeah, so it just is like bringing that back to just like the DNC. I don't have too many comments because like I missed yesterday, and I haven't seen today, and like the other day I was like kind of half-ass watching it, because when I first turned it on, I think it was like her Kamala's best friend and somebody else. And then after that, I think Hillary had a nice speech. Joe Biden, they did him wrong, because why did they have that man? Because that shit didn't go off till like 12:30, and I think last night was the same way too, because I didn't get in the house till like midnight. And it was like, why y'all had that old ass man talking that late at night? And then when I was listening to, the political commentators and strategists and all of that talking about like his speech, because we also have to remember that originally all of this was being put together with like Biden in mind, right? And then when because I think even the last time that I even talked about election stuff, I was still talking about Biden. And so it literally, in I guess like a month now, so many things have changed. So now they have to like, revamp and reorganize this campaign for a Harris-Walz campaign instead of Biden-Harris, So some people were saying like how his speech really should have been more towards like really uplifting Kamala, and I feel like it was like, yes, some of it was ranty and didn't make that much sense, and was just like Trump, their little rivalry love story they got going on. But what I will say that I don't think that none of the commentators commented on it was that like, while Joe Biden was trying to talk, they're just like, we love you, Joe, thank you, Joe, and they kept going and going and going, and he's like, he would say like, no, thank you, Kamala, like, this is about her. So he did point out, that this was like, we should be pushing for her, and so we're starting to move more in that direction. But I thought it was interesting. This is my first time ever, like I said, like I've been saying, this is my first time being really involved in politics, and I think just the things around me of like that's been going on, or things that are just like so eye-opening of like, and then I was watching something, a lot of people talk about how they don't vote because they feel like their vote doesn't matter, and and I think that really there's just, and I mentioned this to the lady the other day too, that like, I love these diversity trainings because I always learn something new, and I think to wrap up that part is like, I think you have to start with people's hearts and then go to the mind, because we are so emotionally driven. Our emotions drive our decisions, and our emotions connect us with people. Everything is rooted in relationship building. And how do we build relationships? By understanding ourselves and others. And how do we do that? Understanding emotions. When you can identify your own emotions in yourself, you are more aware of how others may be perceiving you, how you are interacting with others, or you can advocate for yourself of like, now a lot of times, like if I'm in a setting, because like I talk about it all the time, how I'm an outgoing personality and and I can talk and I can do this, but really I don't like people. I don't like being in large settings. I don't like it because people expect me to be this like rah all the time, and I can be that, but I don't want to. Or like when people are like, oh, this is my friend and now all this attention is on me and I gotta talk to people. I don't really want to do that. I was having a conversation with my mom the other day about like sometimes it can be awkward when you introduce me to people and you're like, oh, she's an artist and she's a teacher and she's this and people are so intrigued, and it's like, I get it because I know you're proud and I love that you're proud of me, and I understand that piece. So for me, it's like I'm able to understand that and kind of just like I'm able to navigate the situation I may be in at that time, but it's like it puts me in an awkward position, right? And so like, why did I bring that comment up? Y'all, what did I say? Yes, so now I'm much better of like, if I'm in a situation that I feel like is a little awkward for me, or I feel like I'm being like socially awkward, or I have a little bit of social anxiety, I'm much better at saying like, yeah, I'm sorry, like I'm just a little bit off right now. And usually when that happens, whoever I'm around is like, yeah, no, I get it, like me too, or whatever. And so that kind of levels that playing field, and that also helps build that connection of like, oh, you have social anxiety too, or you know this. And so being able to understand our emotions, to be able to recognize them in ourselves, put a label on them, advocate for ourselves, can help other people navigate that as well, and we can have a more conducive, productive interaction. And it also makes me realize like, oh, you're a human too. You might be a white human, you might have more money than me, you might have this that's different from me, but at the end of the day, that's all, majority of it is materialistic or this like construct, and it really doesn't matter, because at the root of our beings, we are human beings, and we still need to eat, we still need to breathe, we still need certain things in order for us to survive. But then when you start throwing in race and making that seem like, oh, that makes me more superior than you, or you start throwing in all this money, I have more money than you, so this, that, and the third, that's where we start dividing. So when we lead with our hearts and just trying to connect with another person on a human level, you are more susceptible to receive what I'm explaining to you. So I think that like with this, it's like, and I mentioned this to her too, that it was interesting because it's like, as a Black woman, I just keep learning. I've learned so much more about my history outside of the education system. And you have bans on books, you have literal like this erasure of history, Black history, and Black history is American history. Why? Because it's been made to be that way, because of this price that is being put on Black bodies, that has historically been put on Black bodies. So yeah, it's like you can't have certain conversations without racism, because yes, racism is invented. Y'all decided to do that, and y'all put that to the forefront instead of looking at like the bigger picture of things. And so yeah, it's just like interesting to think of like, if you have these connections, you have teachers in the classroom that make these connections with their students, but then you're putting all of these restrictions on what they can teach. You can't teach this part of history. And then on top of not only making it, and it's like you're requiring everybody to go to school to give them this education, but then you're censoring what you're allowed to teach them, and you're just filling them up with bullshit. So you're giving them access to a false education, more or less, is essentially what is being done. And then you have some people that are just really extremists and like in complete denial, and then they teach their kids this way. So you have people that are having these visceral reactions to things because they were taught that this didn't happen. So what do you mean you're killing Black people, or you're doing this, or you're doing that? Like, no, this is literally embedded in our history. This is the history of America, because Black bodies built this, and we have to put Black bodies in it, because you all separated the Blacks from the whites. That's not to say that there weren't white slaves or white indentured servants. They were there, but there were way more Blacks, and y'all like the separation of whites only, colored only, like it's, so whew. And if we actually took the time to like stop focusing so much on race, but they know such a hot topic, and that's what's going to get the people riled up, that's what's going to get the people fighting and rioting and doing all of this stuff. If we get back to classism, being in a capitalistic society, all of this privatization of like allowing so many people to be billionaires because they're getting this free labor from other people, or they're taking, this person who has more money than this person, they see that idea, I like it, I'ma snatch it, instead of saying like, let me help you build this, just crazy. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. This kind of brings me, I don't know if I ever finished like the comment on like the women's suffrage. So you have to come back, and after the Voters' Rights Act then included more people, because that still didn't allow black women to vote. Feminism was not created with the black woman in mind. So that's why I be like, when people be like, you're a feminist, I'm like, no, I'm a humanist. I'm a humanist. I'm here for humans, the benefit of all humans, right? And just like what is right and what is wrong. And these people in power making decisions for me, but not even like, I think I mentioned it in the other episode, or you might have seen things of just like, you have all these studies, so much studies for medicines and things that we practice are rooted in like white men being the subjects. We're not getting women opinions, we're not getting other people's and like other people's opinions on this. We're testing things out on a white man and then just distributing it to the masses. And then white men are also the people that are in these places of power making all of these decisions. It's just, and we see every day of like all this bribe, and it's just like the power that money holds in our society is crazy. And you're not giving it to the poorer people to help them even just get the basic needs. And on top of that, you're making it basically impossible for them to get any of the resources they need: housing, food, education, any of that community. And then you criminalize the fact that they can't get it. Anti-homelessness legislation in architecture, and it was like, before y'all started building shit, we was all outside in the grass and the trees sleeping anyway. But now y'all done taken these people and had them build all this stuff, and then you making people pay for it, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm gonna wrap it up in a second, but because I brought it up, I do want to finish that thought. I was talking to somebody the other day. I had a really interesting conversation that was like rooted in some spirituality and stuff. But somehow the election came up, and this man, I was talking about, before I got to that, I was talking about how like, I know a lot of people who are like, I'm not voting. Voting is, a lot of people have their gripes about voting, and, feeling like their vote doesn't matter. And I think that's because, and it's all strategic, right? I think that a lot of things need to happen at the local level. You get these people in local office to basically, like, it's a umbrella chain reaction. You have the smaller people going and then getting these qualifications to be able to run for higher positions, or that they're going to be more likely to directly impact you. But all we ever idolize and talk about every 4 years is this presidential one. So yeah, if you're not electing the people that have the same values as you in the smaller offices, you're not gonna feel like anything you're saying or doing is impacting this larger election, right? And so he was talking about how like, I'm not voting, I'm not doing this, and it's like, yeah, you do you. I'm not here to make anybody vote. And if any of my listeners are like, I'm gonna go vote for Trump, maybe you don't need to be my listener no more, because I denounce that. But like, I'm not about to sit here and tell you like, go Well, I guess I am gonna tell you go vote for Kamala, but like, that's, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Like, at the end of the day, that's a decision that you make, right? And my duty is to try to give you as best of an informed vote as possible, you know. And like, with that also, as your own being, take the time to actually get invested and see what's being said. I will say, and this is, when I was on the way out the house this morning, I was watching something, because it was like, you know, the Obama spoke at the time of this recording last night, and they were talking about how, like, you know, with Obama, Trump was really on this like birtherism. He wasn't even born in America, and now he's really on this like, you know, is she black, is she Asian, what is she, all of this stuff. But he was talking about, this is the most coherent, and this is the most coherent I've ever heard this man speak, and he actually sounded like somebody who was fit to run for president. But he was talking about like, if you look at Obama's trade record, or like his record with like trade and a couple other policies, he's like, you know, he didn't do this or he didn't. I'm not that deep in politics, so I don't really know how true that is, but what I would say is but he was trying to say that like, oh, I like Obama and I respect him and his wife very much. Since when? But it was just interesting to hear him speak that coherently. I was like, I didn't know that man was capable of that. That's just my little comment on that. But how did I get there? Yeah, I don't know. It was just like, he was saying something. He was basically saying he's not voting because his vote don't do nothing, and that's what a lot of people say. But I just say it goes back to like, you know, we only talk about this presidential election every 4 years. This is when people are amped up and whatever, but this same coverage does not get the state elections or the local governments, you know. And on top of that, just like the ignorance of the system that is taught to people, or like, it's like a lot of things that should be more what should be our education system, like they're electives. You have one basic class of like, oh, you gotta take like geography, you gotta take United States government, but even then that's like an overview, and you might like, you get to take one other history class, which at that point is your elective, right? It's like, but all these other things that really should be a part of the basic culture, like we should have African American studies, that should not be an elective. That should be something that is taught or integrated in U.S. history, because it is U.S. history. We would not have the country that we have today had it not been for slavery. Yeah, so I think I'm at 136. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. So y'all, I didn't really talk about it because listen, in next week's episode, I recorded next week's episode before this, and there's a little surprise in there, but I think I was like, oh, I recorded. Y'all know, listen, everything about what's been going on the past couple of weeks will make sense next week. So I still haven't gotten around to recording the other things, but it don't even matter because it's coming. Listen, this is one thing. I don't be lying. I just be procrastinating, okay? I be saying I'm gonna do something and I do it, just not, you know, I gotta keep y'all on y'all toes when y'all least suspect that it's gonna drop. But the point is, still go to motherfucking Patreon, okay? Because when I do these reviews and this other stuff, y'all gonna feel it, y'all gonna hear it. So go to motherfucking Patreon patreon.com/2 scrippers one motherfucking pole, without the motherfucking, just 2 scrippers one pole, and subscribe to that hoe and watch all the content, because I got over 30 videos on it. Okay, I got shit on there. So go. If you don't want to do that, Spotify is 99 cents a month, and it be having bonus episodes. I think there's 2 bonus episodes right there, and I promise you, I'm gonna get the mini-sodes rolling. Because I just have an archive of things right now. Because that's my life. Archives of everything. What time is it? 102. Okay, I gotta be back too. And go buy you a motherfucking toy. Go bust some nuts, okay? Use code BB Bustin' Nuts for 30% off your next nut. Okay, y'all know this is the nut capital. Okay, when I say I be in there like, ooh, I be in there busting them. I need you to hear me. If it's one thing I'ma do, it's bust some motherfucking nuts. Okay, which is always just so funny because I was not a masturbator. I was not. I did not understand the value of masturbation in my younger days. But listen, I'm a grown woman now, okay? All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Y'all be safe, make good choices.